What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Unpopular Opinion. I am your host, yet again, Kyle Spitzer, KODX Factor, or Factor, as some of y'all want to call me. Thank y'all for coming back with us for another episode, another great week coming up. Sorry we missed last week. Like I said in the very first episode, a few weeks ago, my schedule is going to be very, very, crazy, especially around this time of year. This time of year, my schedule can get really, really hectic. So the show schedule might not go on every single week like we discussed. So we did miss last week's show. We had a holiday on Monday, and then I was out and about all day Tuesday. Wednesday was kind of like a get things back in order type of day. Thursday I was out working all day. Friday I was out working all day. Saturday I was at my son's basketball tournament, and Sunday was working all day. So we are back here on this beautiful Monday morning. I don't know what day you guys are going to be listening to this episode on. It could be Thursday, it could be Friday, it could be Saturday, whatever the case may be. But it is Wednesday in the beautiful state of North Carolina, and it is a bit on the nippy side. Finally, the fall weather is starting to come in. The hot weather is starting to leave out, dissipate, whatever you want to call it. Thank goodness. I've always been more of a fall and winter type guy anyway. I like the cold a lot more than I like the heat. That may not be I may not be living in the best state for that, because North Carolina is just notoriously hot a lot of the time. But especially going on into like months that you wouldn't expect it to be hot. I mean, most of the time you would expect. I remember a couple years ago we had a Christmas party on Christmas Eve, and I was outside watching the football game underneath our canopy in a t-shirt, and I might have even been wearing shorts that day. It was just not normal Christmassy type weather to me. I was like, and I'm from New York. I'm from up north, so I know what the winter months feel like. I'm used to that really, really rapid cold temperature. I'm used to the snowfall. In North Carolina, you don't really get that. And if you're from the South down here, you pretty much know. You're from down here in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. Even though I did hear that parts of Georgia does get, some decent snowfall that we just don't necessarily see here. Especially if you're in Florida, you definitely know what I'm talking about. But anyhow, welcome back to another episode of Unpopular Opinion. We got a pretty decent show lined up for you guys this week. Segment number 1 is going to be going over what we have been playing over the past 2 weeks. It's been a lot. I will be honest with you. We've had a ton of stuff coming into the offices here as of late, and this week is actually getting no better in that regard. I was kind of hoping that it would start to kind of maybe tamper off just a tad bit so we can kind of get caught up, but not so much. October is like one of those really, really busy months that everybody's trying to get their products out before the Christmas shopping season officially kicks off. So what do we got? What do we got on the docket this week? We got Liza P. We've been playing a ton of Liza P. still. We are getting close to wrapping that up, so a review is coming for that. We have been playing. But we went back to Dead by Daylight, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because this is the Halloween month. This is spook season, and our annual Oktoberfest. We always have a different name for it every year. Has kicked off at the beginning of October, so we are going to continue that, where we play kind of like, darker toned, horror type games. That's kind of like what we do on the docket for our streams going on for the month of October. So we got a lot of Dead by Daylight, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Liza P falls within that category. We played Warhammer Darktide. That kind of falls in line with that as well. Phasmophobia falls in line with that as well. We got some of that coming up on the docket as well. But I think the games that are coming out this week, and I think even the one that came out, one of the ones that we got last week, doesn't really fall into the Halloween category. We're just starting to get ready to play through Assassin's Creed Mirage. We have that here. And one of the ones I've been looking forward to the most has been Lords of the Fallen. We have that here as well. And that kind of falls within that, I guess, that Halloween theme that we kind of got going for the month of October. So, and I haven't really done much into Lords of the Fallen just yet, so I can't really talk on it as much. I do hope to have a lot of impressions hopefully on next week's show. I have to kind of look at my schedule to even make sure we're going to have a show next week. But if it's not next week, it'll definitely be the week after. But yeah, Lords of the Fallen, and then this week we have the Amazing Spider-Man #2. Is that's on the docket this week, right? Friday. Yeah, so Spider-Man 2 on the PS5. We also have Super Mario Brothers Wonder comes out, I believe, on Friday as well. And then the Sonic Superstars, is that the name of it? That's like not necessarily the remake, but the new 2D 4K platformer from Sega in the Sonic franchise. I believe that comes out this week as well. So we got a ton. We got a ton to play through. We got a ton to finish up. So just you have to kind of bear with us. We're going to try to knock these out as often as we can. I think we even have Alan Wake 2 coming this week. Right? Is that this week or next week? We got to look at the date. I know it's. I think it's this week. And if it is this week, then that's another one we got to add. And I believe that's a digital game only. I don't think there is a physical release of that. So I don't think we're going to get like an actual mailed copy here in the office. I believe that's one that's going to be automatically downloaded on the system. But we have to double check that. And we'll double check that date as well. So yeah, that's what we got coming up in our segment #1. We're going to talk about definitely Liza P, Warhammer Dark Tide. We did get our hands on a little bit of that. I'm not going to touch much on Assassin's Creed Mirage because I haven't played enough of it. Not going to touch much on Lords of the Fallen yet because I haven't really got much hands on with that yet either. But we'll definitely touch on Warhammer Dark Tide and of course Liza P. And segment #2, the Grinds My Gear segment. I kind of had to go off of the top here a little bit with this segment. So we got 2 topics we're going to discuss on. One, we are going to look at the newly announced PlayStation, PlayStation 5 Slim model and the pricing of that model and kind of like the avenue they're going with the release of this particular model. We are going to touch on that. I will have my opinions on that as well. And we are also going to talk about deluxe editions of games that are coming out or have come out that are hiding, not necessarily hiding, I won't say hiding, but they're giving players like early access to the games if you buy the $100 deluxe edition of that particular game, but they're only giving you like 2 or 3 day advanced window on the release of it. We're going to talk about my feelings on that because I've seen a number of tweets go online talking about this, and I was like, you know what, that actually brings up a pretty good topic for me because I definitely have my feelings on it. Have had my feelings like on something like that for quite a while. So I am going to touch on that. Segment #3, our under review section. We are going to look at NBA 2K24. We are finally going to get that review out of here. It might be somewhat favorable. Because we did Crime Boss last week? Or last episode we did Crime Boss. We're going to do NBA 2K24 this time. And I know that's a franchise that's kind of close to your heart, Nate. I know it is. Because it's like one of your franchises that you love to play every year when it comes out. But I'm going to touch on that in the under review segment. And then we're going to get into the closing of the episode. We don't have much on the hashtag or the tweet department this week. But we are going to be closing it out. We're going to look at what we got coming out the following week. I think there are a handful of games that are coming out the following week as well. Call of Duty is coming out relatively soon as well. We have Modern Warfare 3. I think that's in November. Is that November or is that an October release this year? Well, we'll take a look at that as well. I mean, we'll look at that because we got to look at some of the release dates anyhow. There's a lot of stuff coming. As a matter of fact, I think I even have it here in front of me. If you guys can give me just a sec. Yeah, so there's Super Mario Wonder. There's Spider-Man 2. Oh, I forgot the Metal Gear Solid Collection does come out next week. So does Just Dance 2024. November 3rd is going to be the WarioWare Move It. And then, Call of Duty does come out on November the 10th. So these are all like in November. Like the WarioWare, Call of Duty, Super Mario RPG, Naruto, And then we got in December we got Avatar. Excuse me. And there are a couple other games coming out in October as well. I think like the Walking Dead Destinies is coming out. I do kind of want to, once we get that in here, but we'll talk about that as well. And then, like I said, we're going to close out the segment, kind of look forward to what we got coming up on the docket in our release calendar. So let's take us a quick break, kind of recalibrate here for a second. We're going to get into segment number 1, what we've been playing, coming right up. So Maestro, if you don't mind, take us on out, please. Welcome on back, everybody, to Unpopular Opinion. We're going to get right into segment number 1, which is what we have been playing this week. Now, let me go ahead and get this right out the way now. There are a couple games that we have just started playing that we can't touch on just yet because I haven't, and the reason behind that is because I just haven't had enough time with it yet. And when I say I haven't had enough time with it yet, that means anything that I've started to play that's under an hour, I really don't feel comfortable really discussing because I just don't know enough about it yet. That would be Assassin's Creed, Mirage, and Lords of the Fallen. Now, on our next episode, we will be talking about both. Because at that point, I can comfortably say that I will have enough hands-on time with both to be able to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about it before we get into the reviews for both of those games. Because, yes, both of those games will have an under-review coming for it. After the one this week, I think we're doing NBA 2K24 this week. Next week, we will be doing Lies of P because I feel comfortable that we will be done with that game by then. I think we are also going to do Warhammer Darktide, I think we have coming up as an under-review game as well. We are going to be doing Spider-Man 2, the Metal Gear Solid collection. I do definitely want to touch on that once it does come in and we get a chance to start playing it, because I've been kind of looking forward to that coming out. I don't know if those are remasters. I guess we'll find out when we get it in, but kind of looking forward to that. But let's go back to, again, we've been playing a lot of Lies of P. I talked a lot last week about Lies of P, so I don't want to like kind of just repeat myself from what I said last week about the game. But having played probably 10 more hours of it from the time that I talked about it a couple weeks ago, I can say that to me, the game to me actually opens up more and gets better as it goes on. Some people are probably like, does the game kind of stay the same? Do you kind of get the same type of thing? Are the enemies just kind of the same? Because, in some of these From Software, I don't want to say knockoffs, but like some of these From Software inspired games that come out, the mistake a lot of them tend to make is they will use the same kind of enemy, but just give them a fresh coat of paint. Essentially, they just reskin them, but give them the same kind of, the same kind of programming, the same kind of technique, the same kind of fighting style, stuff like that. But all they do is they just kind of reskin the NPC, right? Now we know that to be true for a lot of kind of, those type of games that have that quote unquote inspiration to it, right? Lies of P, like, it does that, but not in the way, like, not very, like, it doesn't do it often. It doesn't do it like all the time. It doesn't do it to the where you start to feel like it's starting to get repetitive. Everything's starting to be the same. They do add a lot of different variations to them. Now, some of the enemies you will see kind of carry out from world to world that you kind of venture into. And I will say this, because I'm actually just getting past this area now. And I don't know if this is something that's just has to bring true. Every From Software game and every inspired From Software title has to have this one area that's like insanely difficult. Has to have like a poison type swamp that you got to traverse through. You got to get yourself poisoned, or in what this game calls like either decay or corruption. You got to trickle through this area. You got these swamp type people that you got to fight off most of the time. And then at some point you're going to come into an area where you got this far off either giant with a bow and arrow that's raining down arrows from a distance from you, and large ones at that, or they're shooting large cannonballs at you from a distance. This level that I'm just getting through has all of those. And I'm like, oh great. Another From Software inspired swamp area that I gotta traverse. And like I said, every game of this type of genre has it. And it's always one of those areas that you come to and you dread fighting through it because it's a pain in the ass. You know it. You can go through every single Dark Souls title, Bloodborne title, well, there's only one. You can go through Sekiro. It has its own, trust me, I know. You can go through all of those titles, Neo, Mortal Shell. You can go through all of those games and pinpoint that area that has it. And for Pinocchio, well, the Lies of P, this is it. So yes, this I'm trying to put it into words here. You gotta bear with me. I'm trying to get into the best words and context I possibly can here. But they give you enemy variation types that you've seen early on in the game, but have tweaked them to where they are the same, but they're not the same. If that makes any sense to you. So essentially, they have a different moveset. They may carry a different weapon that does a shit ton more damage than what you're accustomed to. And if you've played lots of P, you know the puppets, like the police puppets that have the rifles that shoot at you. Fuck those guys. I can't say that enough. I hate that enemy type. I hate any enemy type in those games that is a ranged attacker. I hate it. And if any of you guys have played, and not saying that that's a bad decision on the developer's part to create them, because I mean I think it's smart. It has a balance to these levels that, like, you look, if you didn't have them there, it would have been just people would have been like, okay, it's just too easy. Those guys make that level fucking ridiculously hard. And then on top of that, you give us two of the fire big baddies that we got to fight through. One you have to fight with at the very, very beginning of the level. The second one is halfway through that you don't have to fight if you don't want to, but if you're one of those that's like a completionist and you got to get every item, there's two items down there that he's in, and you're in like this tight little room, so there's no room to really kind of maneuver around him. So you really got to kind of fight him straight on. And then like it's one of those areas that you start to question yourself, like before you go down the ladder and you're looking down on them and you see the two items, you start to question to yourself, are these items worth going down there to get? Unfortunately, those two items, like the items that he's actually around, to me, I think they are worth it because they give you some stuff that will help you out with your crafting, which, you know, if you play the game enough, you know that some of the crafting materials are not in huge abundance here. They're pretty small. Excuse me. Like, the game only gives you enough resources to level up max level 3 weapons that you want. So you have to be very, very careful about which weapons you want to max level, because the game's only going to allow you 3. Once you hit those 3, there's not going to be any more resources throughout the course of the game for you to get to level up to max level those weapons, unless you start New Game Plus. Okay? So, like, this swamp world that I'm in gives you all, and on top of that, they give you the one enemy that I hated from the world before. And if you guys have played Lies of P, you guys are well aware of the clown puppet the one that kind of bounces around and has the slingshot fucking arm, the one that like can leap. Well, guess what? In the world right after that, in the swamp level, you have to fight him again, a different variation of him. His moveset is very, very similar, but his timing and the way that he does those moves is vastly different. And instead of fire, he's electric. So they do give you some of the same enemies that you're going to have to encounter, but there are different variations of them. But, I mean, again, to me, Lies of P is one of those games that as you play, it progressively gets better. Like, I keep wanting to find out more and more the lore and the story. And the lore and the story is very, very interesting. Like, I'm getting closer and closer to finding out more and more of the truth. And to me, like, that's what a Souls type game should always be about. Like, build this lore and then build that game around that lore. Don't create the game and then the levels and the characters and then kind of hope that the lore follows, because then excuse me, because then it doesn't start to make it stops to make sense. But whereas in a game where you take the story and the lore and the characters and then you shape the game around that, tends to be much, much better. Much better. I think Neo 2, did it perfectly well. Mortal Shell, I mean, even though I like Mortal Shell, but it wasn't what it could have been. I'm hearing Lords of the Fallen does it very, very well as well. Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Elden Ring, obviously we know those games are always going to be story and lore first. And Lies of P falls firmly within that grasp. So, if we're going to be looking at contenders for the best Soulsborne type of game that's not From Software, Lies of P, and from what I'm gathering, Lords of the Fallen are going to be the two front runners. Now, I haven't played Lords of the Fallen yet. I've gotten character creation. I haven't gotten much into any of it yet. So I can't offer any opinions. On next week's show, I will gladly talk a little bit about it. Right now, I can't really touch on it. So those are going to be your two front runners for that genre game. So, I mean, just if you haven't played Lies of P yet, and you like those type of games, you're doing yourself a disservice by not playing it. You definitely need to play it. It's worth it. It's worth your time. It's worth the frustration. Trust me, I know. My son has been stuck on the same boss for like 2 days now. He's starting to feel that Soulsborne anger. He's starting to get that now, and that makes me so happy. It really does. Yeah. Anyhow, the second game we've been playing is we started playing Warhammer Darktide. It's on. It's actually another game in the Warhammer franchise. The game's available on Game Pass if you have the Xbox Game Pass or PC Game Pass. Warhammer Darktide is on there. It's a game that puts you in the world of Warhammer 40K, and the way that the game plays is it's a horde-based killer. Now, what do I mean by that? It's a game that you have to fight off as you progress through the level to the end, or what some games call it, like the safe room. You have to fight off hordes of enemies. You have your generic 1-2 shot kill the enemy type of deal, headshots, one hit kill. And then you have like your overgrown monsters that are much harder to bring down. The ones that can, incapacitate your teammates, and you got to kill them before your teammate can get back up. If your teammate gets knocked off the world, he's kind of holding onto the ledge, and you got to pull him back to safety. It's one that actually does require the 4-player co-op that's available in it. It's another one of those games that I don't necessarily think brings much to the table in the way of anything different. We saw this with Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead kind of started this whole thing. Back 4 Blood tried it. What was the other game where there was 4 of y'all and you had to hunt down a monster? Evolved. Evolved to me, actually, I thought probably did it the best. Kind of add different variations to it. I think it kind of did the best. So, in a way, I think Evolved, but unfortunately, Evolved met like an untimely death, and it's just I think it could have done a lot more, but just didn't have the legs. It didn't have the audience, especially in the initial release of it, because I think it had such problems at the launch, and that killed most of its audience. But it was a game that actually had promise, and they actually tried to reboot it in a way. But I don't think it kind of took off the way it definitely needed to. I think the audience had already, at that point, kind of caught it and left already. So, unfortunately, I think Evolve was one of those games that could have possibly done it. But Warhammer Dark Tide just kind of falls into that realm of games that we have seen before, and unfortunately doesn't really add much in the way of anything new to the game formula. The only thing that's really, really different here, and that might hit some people in the quote-unquote right way, is the fact that it's a Warhammer game and takes place in the 40K universe. That's the only thing I can really see as far as that goes that people can kind of gravitate to. And I'll admit, I kind of did. I saw it. I was like, you know what? I haven't really been a fan of. I've liked some of the Warhammer titles that have come out. I'm really kind of anxious to kind of see, the Space Marines second one coming out. I do kind of want to play that one, but unfortunately, I think the game formula of sending waves of enemies at you, you clear the kill room out. You move on to the next area while you still got enemies chasing you or coming out of different corners or different avenues. Before you get to the end, you set up your ultimate defenses. Hold off the giant hordes that are coming, including the heavy bosses that come, and then you escape at the very end. Where it kind of gives you like that sense of the last surviving second that we have before we got to escape. You hop on the plane or the helicopter and you get out of there. This again follows in that same formula. So is it good? Yeah, you could probably get a good couple of nights co-op. Get your buddies together. Y'all hop on. Some of you guys have some drinks and play through a couple world or a couple levels of Dark Tide, and you'll probably have a decent time with it. It's not one you're going to sit down and consistently play level for level all the way through for a long period of time, unfortunately. At least I never got that feeling from it. You may feel differently, which is possible, which is perfectly okay. That's your opinion. This is mine. It just wasn't really a game much for me. I could film a good 2 or 3 episodes of that game, really, and then I'm kind of done with it. Like I would get through I'm probably through like 3 or 4 worlds of that game, levels already of that game. And I think maybe 1 or 2 more levels of that game, and then I'm probably good. I can delete it off my hard drive, because we all know that hard drive space nowadays is a freaking commodity. And for a game like this that you could probably get 2 or 3 good nights worth of fun out of, just doesn't really seem it for me. You know what I mean? So that's Warhammer Dark Tide. So let us take a quick break. We're going to regroup here, and we're going to come back with segment number 2, which what really grinds my gears, and we're going to talk about the PS5 Slim model announcement, and of course the deluxe editions and the hidden. Come play this game 2 or 3 days early, but pay us $100 for the game. We'll be right back. Welcome on back, everybody, to Unpopular Opinion. Now, we are about to get into one of my favorite segments of the show. Our second segment, segment number 2, what really grinds my gears. And this week, we got a couple of them that didn't actually even hit me until late. But the first one I want to talk about today is the PlayStation 5 Slim model that was announced. And just how I like to know what the decision-making process is over at Sony. How's it done? How's it go about? And I may not run or own a business like a multi-million-dollar company that Sony is, but I do run a business and I do understand how business works. I do understand economics. I do now understand how the economy works. I understand how taxes work. I understand a lot of what business entails. But I see it more as a service, more of like as a service provider, as opposed to one that builds product and ships it to sell. But I am what we would consider a consumer of said product that is built and sent out. And I am only going to talk to you no, I can't do that because I got to take this with two ways. One, as a consumer and a fan, and two, as a business owner myself. I would like to seriously know what is going on and what takes place during the decision-making process at Sony headquarters. Now, I understand their CEO, Jim Ryan, is gone. I understand that. And I don't know if they have officially announced a new president of Sony Entertainment, or if they're just kind of going through the interim process, like somebody's kind of filling that void right now until they can get somebody solidified in place. Whomever is making some of these decisions right now needs to take a serious step back. Let me explain what's going on. So just last week, the Sony Entertainment announced that they are redoing, not redoing, but they are redesigning the current PlayStation 5 model that's out right now. Does the model look any different than the slim model that's getting ready to come out? Look-wise, besides the fact that it's slimmer and a bit smaller, no, there's no difference. However, again, there's going to be two different models of it. There's going to be the disc-based version, and there's going to be the discless, the digital version, as you will. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is where the caveat is. Most times, if you do a revision, you go to a slimmer model, something is being taken out of the system, right? You can't build the same exact system in a smaller box than what you had at launch. You're going to get, will it have the same power as the one before? Yeah, it can, yes. That'll probably stay the same. However, there are going to be other things that come off of that system to make it worthwhile to do a slimmer model. You're making it smaller. So some of the USB ports have come out of it. So it no longer has that USB ports in it. Does it have USB ports in it? Yeah, it's probably got one. But probably the ones it'll probably have like the one in the front, but the ones in the back, they're axed. Or they may be keeping the ones in the back, but axing the one from the front. So those ports are necessarily gone. I think the Ethernet port, it is gone. I don't think it has an Ethernet port. I could be wrong on that. I got to double check the specifications on the slim model, but I did notice the USB ports going away. And here's the other thing, is that they're charging the same exact price for the disc version at $499 for the slim model than the one that's currently out right now. And I think you can even find some of the disc-based ones even now more on sale where you actually save $50. The big kicker, and the big kicker to the nuts, is the digital version. Used to be $100 cheaper. Now it's actually increasing in price to $50 more. $50 more. And you can turn that digital version into a disc version if you purchase the disk drive that attaches to the system. Do you want to know how much that disc add-on is? $80. So, take the discless version. You buy the digital version, you want to save $50 on it. You should be saving $100 on it. Why the fuck they increased the price to $50 more? It's beyond me. Stupid if you ask me. They're not giving you anything more. They're taking stuff away, but they want to charge you more for it. Fuck you, Sony. Pieces of shit. Money-hungry companies. And I thought Sony would have learned their fucking lesson years ago, especially when it came to the PS3. No, they got their ass kicked with the PS3. They dominated with the PS4, and they're dominating again with the PS5. So what do they decide to do? Like, look, we gained our audience back. Now look, we can do whatever the fuck we want to do, and they're going to buy it regardless. They are starting to turn into what Disney's now doing to their consumers. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Disney has increased the price of virtually everything. You want to go on a Disney vacation, used to be affordable to damn near everybody. That's what the market was, to everybody. Walt Disney himself wanted everybody to come and enjoy the theme parks, the television programming, the cartoons, everything. He wanted it to be accessible to everybody. Now they got money-hungry investors, money-hungry ownership, and leadership that is trying to price gouge every possible thing they can fucking think of under the sun. And what ends up happening? They start turning on their consumers. They start doing shit that's anti-consumer. They then start pushing out audiences that they didn't have or that they had before that are starting to push away now. They are price gouging everybody to the point that they are making it inaccessible for a large group of people. Do you think everybody in this world is super fucking rich? That they can still go out and spend $500 on a system or more, especially if you buy the digital version and have to upgrade? Do you think they have that kind of cash? Especially 3 or 4 years into the system's lifespan now? Like, seriously? That's what your train of thought is? I thought y'all would have learned your lesson back with the PS3. Apparently, you fucking didn't. I hope you fall back into that same hole you fell in with the PS3. You learned, look, we made a major fuck up. We fucked up. You won't say that shit now because you seriously think you haven't fucked up. Guess what? You fucked up. If I didn't already have a PS5 already, I wouldn't fucking buy another one to fucking support your asses. I really wouldn't. You're starting to outprice people out. You're starting to price people out now. You're not going to make it accessible for them. Okay? That's problem number one. Your problem number two is your whole fucking disc-based model. Or your digital version model. Makes no fucking sense to me whatsoever. You had your audience when you had the $4.99 price point and then the $3.99 price point. You had your audience there. Now you're bumping the price up $50, and you already did that overseas. You increased both models by $50. And you just said, well, fuck it, we're going to do it anyway. And we did it over there, we're going to do it over here now too. I want to know what the fuck is going on in y'all's heads. I really do. I would love to be at one of these marketing meetings. I would love it. Because I would love to sit there and just sit at the edge of the table and look at each one of these stupid fucks in their damn face and ask, what the fuck is wrong with you? I can tell you guys aren't fucking... And look, this isn't me just being a Sony hater and just like I love Xbox or something like that. No, I have all systems. Every system that's ever been made, I have. I have it here. Multiple versions of them, mind you. I have 3 PS5s. I've got 3 Xbox Series X's. Right now, currently, sitting here looking at them. Yes, because I have an office and I have a business that utilizes them. We have to. We have them utilized. All right? I've got 4 Switches here. Lord knows how many Xbox 360s, PS3s I've gone through. And I've gotten the different iterations of them. This will be one of the first times I don't actually go out and get the fucking different iterations of the PS5. I have no point to do so. You're not making it any cheaper. I have no point to remotely even do it. If you have one of the older models, there is no possible reason for you to have to go to the slim model. And then they're going to discontinue the older model altogether, and the slim model is going to be the new one that's in stores that you're only going to be able to find. So they're going to say, like, look, if you have a chance to get the digital version now for $399, you better fucking do it, like, right now. Because you're not going to have that option in possibly 2024. You're not going to have it. I don't understand, some of the thought process that goes into these marketing ideas, these marketing meetings. What they're really, really trying to do, I just don't understand at all. I don't think I ever will. I don't think they have gamers, core gamers, like hardcore gamers, I don't think they have working for them. I think they have a bunch of suits that all they can think about is how this is going to affect the next thing. Is this going to affect the bottom line? Is this going to affect this? Now, as a business owner, yeah, you have to think that way sometimes. But you still got to keep your passion number one. If you don't keep your passion number one, then how are you going to be able to fill or satisfy your consumers? You can't. You can't have one without the other. And when you start doing stuff like this, you start to push away your consumers. Then you're going to start seeing less profit. Then you're going to start seeing marketing meetings where it's not like talking about, all right, here's the next thing we're working on and what we got coming out. It's going to start turning in what can we do to try to turn this around because it's not working out. I'm sure that's what a lot of the marketing meetings took place during the PS3 era. And then the PS4 came around and you're like, look, we're killing it again. We did things right. We're doing it the right way. And now you're falling back in the same trap. It's like history. History always ends up repeating itself. It's repeating itself here. Why can we not, or why can anybody for that matter, not learn from the previous mistakes and keep pushing forward? We always end up pushing forward and then falling right back again. Microsoft had this. It happened to them. The Xbox came out. Like, look, the original Xbox was a huge success for them. 360 came out, was a freaking major success for them. Besides the Red Ring of Death issue. But, they did step up and do the right thing in regards to it. The Xbox, what was the one that came out right after that? It was the Xbox 360 and then what? Xbox One? Xbox One was a huge step back for them. They realized they had fucked up. But this is not what we want. So what did they end up doing? They ended up putting in leadership roles people who shared the same passion as their consumers did. And look what ended up happening because of it. Now, granted, Xbox is still taking a little bit longer to kind of rebuild what they had gained during the 360 era, but they're doing it. They haven't just fell back and stayed way back and kept on going back. They're slowly building it back up, and they're doing so, and they are doing it. You can't tell me that they're not. they're bringing back that audience. They're bringing back those hardcore gamers that they've had during the 360 era. It is starting to slowly come back. The Series X was definitely on the right track. I think the Xbox One X, when it came out, the Xbox One X does fall within that Xbox One family. But I think that was kind of like let's get our feet wet into what next gen could potentially look like. And they were right, because the Series X came out, Series S came out. Okay? Now, they have the two different price models. I think one was the $499 model, which is the disc-based version, and then you had the $299 version, which was the digital version, a little less powerful, but it had half the memory. And then people started to realize, okay, look, memory is a major thing here. Memory is a major thing that players are starting to get upset about because, and this is a whole nother grinds my gears segment, probably I'll save for next week, but install game sizes. How Call of Duty takes 180 some odd gigs and other games take 160 some odd gigs. Four or five of those games, your whole memory on your system's wiped out. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. How many of you guys have, like right now I can think off the top of my head, Call of Duty, Mortal Kombat 1, and Forza Motorsport, Halo. Those games are 100 plus installs easy. But I will say this about the Microsoft aspect of it. If you are one of those, and this is like a little cheat code, if you didn't already know it, you can try to do it now. If you are one of those that is, you haven't upgraded the internal memory on the systems yet, you're not going to go out there and spend $200-300, sometimes $400 on an SSD card to put into your system to upgrade the memory. You're going to you're going to have to delete games, install a new one. Delete a game, install a new one. Sometimes delete 2 games to install one. You're one of those gamers. I did until I upgraded the memory on all these units. I used to have to do it all the time. Here's a cheat code. If you have Xbox Game Pass, games like Forza, I don't install those. I just play them right off of the cloud now. I'll go to Game Pass, take the game, it'll ask me, do you want to install or cloud? If you do cloud, it'll put you in a queue. Recently I've noticed that the queue has gotten to like 5 to 10 minute waits. But sometimes there's no queue at all, and you in a minute it'll boot up. And you just play the game right off of the cloud. You can play the game. Like you would if you... Now, does it run a little bit smoother if you install it? Yeah, but a lot of that's going to be based off of your internet speed. If you have fantastic internet like we happen to have here, you really can't tell the difference. If you're one of those that has average internet speed, you're probably going to know a difference. You'll see some lag. You'll see some cell shading issues. You'll see some issues with it. But that's going to be typical on anything you're playing directly off of the internet. But the cloud gaming works, and it works well. And it's another option for gamers that are struggling when it comes to install sizes. And having to install 100 plus gigabyte games. These games are available on the cloud, especially if they're on Game Pass. They're easily accessible on the cloud. Just play them right off of the cloud. That's what I would do. But Sony, seriously, you got to go back now. You got to go back, have another board meeting, figure out, okay, look, we got to get some people in here that know what it is to be a hardcore gamer and what appeals to them, what they need. And we got to be that company to go out there and do it. Because right now, Microsoft, even though they are behind you in sales, are doing that. They're giving players options and easily accessible options. You may hate it, but Game Pass is a humongous success for not only them, but a huge thing for consumers. Cloud gaming is, some of y'all may not see the point in it, but trust me, it is a big thing for consumers and will be, I believe, in the future. Maybe not so much right now, but in the future it certainly will. And I think the Game Pass and cloud game services that are offered through the Game Pass is just the tip of the iceberg. That's just dipping the toes in the water to see it. And I believe we will all, at some point here, see that very, very soon. But going right back to the point, I don't understand these revisions. The pricing. We got to pay for the fucking stand that the system sits on now? Really? You don't think so? That's a $30 price tag for that little fucking piece of plastic cylinder that your system sits on if you decide to stand your system upright. $29.99? Are you fucking serious? For that? $80 for the disk drive. So you're going to end up paying more than you would if you bought the disc-based version. They couldn't even make it to where it evened itself out. Like, really? You couldn't even make it to where if you upgrade, if you increase the price on the digital version to $450, you couldn't at least put the fucking optional disk drive that you can get later on at like $50 to equal out the $500 that you would spend on the disc-based version anyway? You couldn't do that? You couldn't even do that. I don't understand their marketing strategy. I don't think I ever will until they get these suits out of the fucking position and out of the decision-making process and actually get people that know what the fuck they're doing and people that actually understand the business that they're in. A lot of companies fall into that trap. GameStop fell into that trap many, many years ago. They started taking gamers out of their store leaderships and started putting in suits, as I like to call them. And what ends up happening because of that? There's a downturn. Always going to be a downturn, which is going to then lead to closures because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Not doing what you did early on. Again, history. It repeats itself. We never fucking learn from mistakes. We just keep on. We'll learn from it for a short period of time and then go right back fucking to the mistakes that we made before. That's the way. That's unfortunately how the whole fucking world works. All right, let's. What do we got here next? All right, so a second part here. What we're going to talk about. I know. I need to kind of settle down just a little bit. Hopefully, this one will do it, but I don't think it's going to. We're going to talk about the deluxe editions of these games that are coming out, and a lot of games are starting to do them now, and they are hiding behind those digital, or they're not even digital. Some of them are physical. Deluxe editions of games. They are hiding early access to games behind them now. I am starting to see a trend where there's a lot more games doing it. Lords of the Fallen just did it recently. I think Call of Duty's doing it, but I think that's going to be coming to an end here pretty soon because Microsoft's deal closed like 3 days ago. Like they're officially closed. Like they're done now. It's officially been acquired. Microsoft now is the official owner of Activision Blizzard. So I think that's going to be coming to a close here pretty soon. I think at the end of this year, Bobby Kotick, whatever the fuck his last name is, I think he is finally getting the boot. He is finally being out of Activision. Thank God. But I'm seeing a lot more games now doing deluxe editions of games. And these deluxe editions of games are costing anywhere between $89.99 to $99.99. And they're not really giving you anything more except for like early access to the game by 3 days, 3 to 4 days. I could see if they're going to give you early access to the game by like, let's say, 2 weeks. We're going to give you a 14-day head start. Maybe even to some fans, depending on the game, a 7-day head start. But even then, I don't think that's fucking worth it at all. I'm going to give them a 14-day head start. Okay. Especially depending on the type of game, depending on what type of game it is. But to charge $100 for an addition to a game that's coming out, and some of these games aren't even proven. Like Lords of the Fallen had a deluxe edition. I think it had like a 3 or 4 day early access. It was a 3-day early access. 3-day early access to the game, and it was $99.99. I believe it was $99. You double check me, fact check me. $99.99 for the deluxe edition. Give you 3-day early access to a game that to fans hasn't even really proven itself yet. The first iteration of this game sucked major donkey balls. This is a reboot of that original idea into a next-gen Souls-type game. And you still had the nerve to charge $100 for early access to that game? Are you fucking stupid? Like, I don't understand it. And I think companies need to stop this. And they're not going to stop it until fans actually stop doing it. Because that's the crazy part, is people are actually going out there and they're buying the deluxe edition. Look, the deluxe edition is not giving you much of anything more than the main selling point is to give you early access to the game. And I'm sorry, but a weekend, give you an extra weekend or 3 days before the game actually launches to get you to play? Are you willing to spend an extra $40 to $50? Let's say between 30 and $40 extra to play that game a couple days early? And now I'm going to actually talk to you consumers, because the companies are going to keep doing what sells, and if people are actually buying these early access versions of the game, that's only just going to keep on giving them the idea to keep on putting out more. I'm going to talk to you consumers right now. What the fuck is wrong with you? Early access to the game by 3 days, and you want to spend an extra $30 to $40? Really? For nothing really anything extra? But just to say that you're the fact that, hey, I'm one of the ones, I got the chance to play the game early. Like before, I could have seen that maybe that looked cool, especially if they gave you like a week or two to play it before the actual game launched. I could see that. You know what those are called? Those are called betas. Those are called demos. Essentially, here's the funny part, and I guarantee you, companies are probably thinking about this and they're looking at it this way. I know I would. Let's charge $100 for the game because people are buying them anyway. Okay? People are buying them anyway. Let's charge $100 for it. Let's get it out there early before the game officially launches. Let people play it. They can play test it essentially for us. Essentially, you are paying them to be their beta testers for the game. How do you feel about that, you dumb fuck? You are, what they should be paying you for, you're paying them for. To be beta testers on their product. Ever since they started really going into this trend, I stopped doing it. I was like, I'm not fucking doing that. It's a waste of fucking money. It makes no sense to me. I'm not going to be your beta tester. I'm your consumer. I'm here to buy that product because I want it and I want to play it. And I want to play it in its entirety. I don't want to be the one to test out the bugs so you can put out a day one patch for it. I'm not paid for that. You want to pay me for that? Fine. Then we can talk about it. But I'm not going to pay you to be your beta tester. Fuck you. That's what y'all should be thinking. Look, giving you early access to the game doesn't make you fucking cool. Well, so you can go to school and brag to your friends, hey, I got a chance to play the game like 3 or 4 days early. Give a fuck. Listen how corny that fucking sounds. You're giving them more willpower to do that in the future. Don't be that fucking naive. Don't be that fucking stupid. Don't buy the fucking deluxe editions. They're fucking pointless. It used to be collector's editions used to cost like $100, and sometimes you would get like a cool like little figurine or a standee to kind of go with it. You know, something kind of cool, something physical that you could put on your desk to showcase. Hey, I got the big Mac Daddy of this game, the collector's edition. I got the statue sitting right here. I remember back in the day when the original BioShock 1 collector's edition was $100, and you got the Big Daddy figurine. Nowadays, it's $100. Please give it to me. You can play the game 3 days early. And while you do that, please play the game online so I can see what kind of feedback we're getting and see if we need to tweak anything or we need to do anything before the game officially, quote unquote, launches. It's fucking dumb, man. And you guys are playing right on into it. Some of you fans are out there just playing right on into it. I don't know how many of these you're gonna fucking have to fall into before you start to get it through your thick fucking skull and start realizing, like, look, this is not worth it. This is not the value that it should be. And it's not. The only way you're going to tell a game company that is by hitting them in their pockets for it. Stop letting them fucking dictate it. And more companies are starting to do it because now they're starting to see A, profitability in it, and B, it's actually helping them out because now they can start putting out day one patches for a lot of their games. You guys want them to stop the day one patches? Stop buying the fucking deluxe editions. You're the beta testers. Okay? And how about the day one patches? How about you finish the game before you fucking give it to us anyway? That's a whole other topic in and of itself. I'll save that one. I'll shelve that one for a later date as well. But I had to get this one off my chest because Lords of the Fallen had a deluxe edition. And I was like, and it had like a 3-day early access. And I was like, are you fucking serious? No, I'm good. I'll wait 3 more days till my copy comes in. I'm good. I don't need to fucking pay $40 extra to have y'all send it to me 3 days early. No, I'm good. How the fuck would I do that for? I'm sorry, even if it was Gears, I wouldn't do it for. They'd have to actually give me something more, something physical that I can grab and hold, touch. And I don't mean just like the game in the game case. Something extra to kind of go along. The incentive to buy that deluxe or collector's edition. But to have early access to the game, nah, I'm good. Because what's going to happen? Like, because you know they still have deluxe editions of Lords of the Fallen available to sell right now. And we are already past the weekend of the launch of that game. And it's still $100. What about the early access to that? So I get to keep the cool little costume that might come with it for free? Not really for free, because you're paying $40 for it. But now the early access is already passed, so there's no point in even having that. And there's still people that'll probably still go out there and buy it because they got to have the deluxe edition. Stop being fucking naive. That's all I'm going to say about that. Stop being fucking naive. All right, let's take a minute to decompress. I'm gonna grab me a drink, and we'll come right back and we'll get right into under review of NBA 2K24. We'll be right back. Welcome on back to our segment number 3, where we're going to look at our unpopular opinions under review segment. Our segment has come back in full force, and we are going to be reviewing this week NBA 2K24. Another sports title. Yay for me. Just after we got done of our Steamful segment number 2. If you don't know what we're talking about, go back and listen to those or see those past videos or just Rewind this whole podcast back. Listen to it. We're going to talk about another sports title, another game, another year, same shit, different day, different package, different cover athlete. This year we get the NBA 2K24, and who graced the cover this year? But none only than Mamba himself, Kobe Bryant. No issues with the cover athlete this year. I think that's well deserved. Definitely, I love seeing that's the one thing I will say about 2K. I love seeing like these versions of the game when it comes to the cover athletes. Like last year they did the Jordan challenges, like the Jordan moments, like you relive some of the best moments of Jordan's career from college to the pros. I think that whole thing, if they keep that going year after year, I think that's actually something. I'm actually pretty happy with that. I love seeing that addition to that game. I think that was actually kind of much needed. It was a nice breath of fresh air. And there's so many athletes that you can do that with going forward. Yeah, you can still do like your typical cover athlete that's going to grace the cover each year. You pick, your signature athlete that you want to grace the cover of NBA 2K24. But then you also have an NBA legend who you can have grace, like maybe like the reverse side of the cover. Like you have, because some covers they do like the one cover and then you can reverse it and there's another cover. You could do that with NBA 2K and you could do it with Madden going forward. I think Madden can learn from this. But because you got so many superstars, go back and relive their greatest accomplishments of their career, their greatest moments of their career. They did it with Michael Jordan last year. I thought they did a fantastic job with it. Like even the college, like when you relive the college game, like some of his college games, and like it had like in the picture quality it was kind of like that grainy, some of it was black and white. Like you can kind of tell it was on old school television at that time. Like those are fantastic additions. Keep those going. They did them again this year with the Kobe Bryant edition. They relive all of Kobe's, like the Kobe challenges. Relive Kobe Bryant's highlights from his career. Relive those moments. I think that is fantastic. I love seeing those in these games. And I think they could do that year after year going forward. That's a fresh addition, something new you're going to see every year. What athlete are they going to do this year? They did Michael Jordan. They just did Kobe Bryant. Who can they do next? You have legends upon legends to choose from. You can do like the Larry Bird challenges, the Magic Johnson challenges, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar challenges, the Julius Erving challenges. You have a plethora of all-stars and legends that you can do this with. And I think year after year they have to keep that going forward. They have to keep that. By all means, you have to keep that going. Because I love playing those. I love reliving those moments and playing through those moments. I love seeing that. And then those give way to the shit that we see every year. They're the same game. Just the only thing that's changed is maybe the user interface at the beginning has changed. Everything else is pretty much the same. Roster updates. You get the updated rosters. The graphics really haven't changed much from year over year. You get the same shit. The game modes, even from this year to last year's version, they're the same. The exact same. I think even the menus that they went with were the same. The only thing that changed was like the background image. Hell, I could do that from my computer here in like less than an hour. They're just not offering enough for the year-to-year basis to justify the price tag. Now, don't get me wrong. Is NBA 2K24, is it a good basketball game? Yes, it is. If you own NBA 2K23, is it worth it to me to upgrade to NBA 2K24? There's two ways you can look at this to answer this question. And to me, the only thing that's going to be worth it, but I mean, still, you're talking about an $80 price tag, a $70 price tag. and they're one of the ones that do this deluxe editions to get the early access. They do the legend challenges. They did Michael Jordan last year, Kobe Bryant this year. I just touched on that in the very, very beginning. That's something that will keep your fans coming back, but you got to give them more than that. Go to the subscription-based model like I talked about with Madden in the Madden review. Go to that. Charge them. Or hell, even tell them, like, look, we'll digitally upgrade your current version you have to the current version for $30 to $40. And what you'll get is the updated rosters, and then you'll get the updated rosters for 1 year or 1 season of play, and you'll get the new legend challenges that are available for that year. And do a $30 or $40, I think even a $40 price tag will be worth it for that. That system, that would work. But they're not going to do it because they see the growth in the sales. And I don't think the game's like growing exponentially every year. As a matter of fact, I think the game is dropping in sales each year, but it's still doing millions. I think they could do twice that if they went to this model that I'm talking about. These sports titles need to go to the subscription-based model. They need to go that route. And with NBA, they have the upper hand because they already started doing the legend challenges. And I already told you, I think that would be worth the price tag of the $39.99 to get that digital upgrade every year. You get the updated rosters for 1 year of play. You get to follow the schedule for 1 year of play. And then you get those legend challenges for that given year. It's almost like a battle pass system, essentially, except your battle passes come out once a year. You have more there that you can do. You have more than what Madden has right now. And I think Madden can learn something from NBA. Do legend challenges. Have a legend be one of the ones that graces your cover every year on the reverse side. And do legend challenges. Relive some of the greatest moments of that athlete's career. I don't think that's hard. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about NBA. If you played NBA 2K23, you like it, you're going to like 2K24. Is it worth the upgrade to me right now? No, it's not, because you're getting the same exact thing every single year. But, like I said, the Legend Challenges actually makes it interesting. When the price drops from $69.99 or $79.99, whatever the price is of it, if it drops down to like $30 or $40, then you go get it. And it's going to drop around Christmas time. It did it last year too. Get it like around Christmas time when it's like $40. Buy it then, because then it's worth the price tag. So for that, I'm going to give NBA 2K24 a 7 out of 10. It's average. You get the same thing as you got for the year prior, but the Kobe Challenges makes it really interesting. So, let's take us a quick break. We'll come back and we'll get ready to close this episode out. Maestro, take us on out, please. get the boogie on. Shut up! Oh, man. Well, welcome on back as we get ready to close out this episode. Thank you guys again so much for joining us today. I've had a blast sitting here. I got to admit, I love coming here and sitting and being able to sit at my desk and, with my kids around to kind of help me guide this and talk what I'm passionate about, which is video games. Have been for many, many years. Have been since I was a child. It's grown into what I do today. I love being able to sit here and kind of talk about it with y'all and getting y'all's feedback as well. I've noticed the viewership in our channel, not just with the podcast, but with other videos that we have put out in the past and recently, have grown exponentially over the past, I would say, month. So I'm grateful for all you guys checking out the channel. If you like what you are seeing, please feel free to comment. I always try to answer back every comment that comes in. Subscribe, comment, share the videos, share them with your friends, whomever. Share them on your social media pages. We would greatly, greatly appreciate that. It helps us further get into and be more and more passionate about what we do as we continue to grow and continue to do so. Now, we've been at this for many, many years, but, it's only recently started to see like that quicker trend going up. So I'm thankful for that. I'd love to keep on putting out more content with y'all. If y'all love seeing it, if y'all want to see more and more of that, I'll be happy to. Keep in mind, for the rest of the month of October, we will be doing Halloween-based games and gameplay. We will try to do those a lot more with the guys that we normally play with on a daily basis. Because I know it always tends to get a little bit more interesting when all of us are in the party together. So we will try to do more and more of those. We're going to try to keep more of the games that we do more darker theme going into the holiday season. So if you are into those Halloween, darker, edgier type games, we're going to try to keep those going for you for the rest of October. Going into November, we don't know what's really going to open up for us in November. December, we can't really say that we're going to do like Christmassy type of games because there's not really anything out there Christmassy. We'll try to keep it more like lighthearted, maybe. I don't know what your guys' feedback's on that. You can let us know. Maybe if you want to see more lighthearted, family-oriented games, we can definitely do that as well. But we're still going to keep doing what we do. I'm still going to try to deliver this podcast to you on a weekly basis if I can, but just keep in mind my work schedule is absolutely crazy. So if I can get it done, I'll absolutely get it done. If I can't, I'll try to announce it on my Twitter handle and keep y'all informed of what's coming up. So, we do have a few games to get to next week. I will finally be able to talk about Lords of the Fallen and Assassin's Creed Mirage. Be on the lookout of that. We do plan on doing under review. I am hoping to get Liza P done so I can get the review for you guys either this week or the following episode. But within the next two episodes, we will finally put a score on Liza P, and then we'll have review scores for Super Mario's Wonder and Spider-Man 2 coming up as well. We just, like I said, we've got a lot. And every game that we do complete, we will give you a review score for it. So just keep an eye out for those. We have a lot coming in the office this week. We got a lot to play. We got a lot coming next week. I do want to check out that Metal Gear Origins, kind of Metal Gear 1, 2, and 3 remaster, remake collection, volume 1 coming out. I don't know if I'm going to do a Just Dance review. Some of y'all are probably like, yes, do a Just Dance review. I'm not much of a Just Dance dancer, if you get my drift. Now, I might have my daughter do it, and I'll give you a review score based off of what somebody her age and, those are her genre of games. Remember what I said in my very first episode. Don't send somebody to review a game that's not their genre or expertise of game to do. I'm only going to review games that's within my wheelhouse of my expertise and what I like to play. Those will be the games that I give you reviews for. And the games I mentioned and ones I play are the ones that I like to play. So, again, thank you guys so much for coming in. We greatly appreciate y'all. Please comment, like, subscribe to the channel. We would greatly appreciate it. And until next week, everybody, I am KODX Factor, and I am signing out. game on, and have a wonderful, wonderful week.